chained in the dark, human bait for the beasts. Jared Carter opened his eyes slowly. Everything around him was dark. He could not see the walls or the floor. He tried to move, but heavy chains held his arms tight. His back was against a cold metal wall, and the air smelled like rust and blood. His head hurt. His clothes were torn. His hands were shaking. Where was he? Then he remembered. He was taken. He was working on a space station above Mars when strange lights appeared. Alarms went off. There were screams. Then darkness. Now he was here, chained in this nightmare. Suddenly, a loud buzz came from the ceiling. A square hole opened, and a dim red light filled the room. Jared blinked as his eyes adjusted. He saw blood on the floor, scratches on the walls, bones, some broken, some chewed. He wasn't the first one here. A voice crackled from a hidden speaker. Cold. Robotic. Not human. Test Subject 47. Prepare for observation. Beast Pit 6 activated. Jared's heart raced. Beast Pit. He pulled at the chains, but they were solid. No escape. Then he heard it. A growl. Low and deep. Something was breathing heavily in the dark. And it was close. Out of the shadows, something moved. 4 legs. Long claws. Glowing yellow eyes. The monster stepped into the red light. Its skin was dark and scaly, like armor. Its mouth opened, showing sharp teeth. It growled louder, and drool fell from its jaws. Jared froze. He couldn't fight. He wasn't a soldier. He was just a repair engineer. He fixed machines, not fought monsters. The creature moved closer. Then something strange happened. The chains on Jared's hands clicked and released. They fell to the floor with a loud clang. The monster stopped. It tilted its head, curious. Jared didn't move. He knew it was a test. They wanted him to run, to scream, to beg. He wouldn't. He looked around. There was nothing to use. No weapons, just trash, broken metal, wires, a rusted pipe near the wall. The monster took a step forward. It sniffed the air. Then it charged. Jared dove to the side and grabbed the pipe. He turned just in time to block the monster's claw. The impact sent him flying, but he landed near a broken panel. The lights above blinked again. Survival rate, 2%. The voice from the speaker mocked him. Jared coughed, blood on his lip. He smiled. Better than 0. He touched the broken panel. Wires sparked. His fingers worked fast. Even in fear, his mind stayed sharp. That's what he was trained for. The monster circled him, ready to strike again. Jared pulled one wire, then another. He wrapped them around the pipe and aimed at the puddle of blood and liquid near the center of the room. When the beast jumped, Jared jabbed the pipe into the liquid and shouted, "Come on." A flash, a spark. Electricity shot through the puddle. The monster screamed. It didn't die, but it fell back, stunned. Smoke rose from its legs. It crawled away, howling in pain. Jared dropped the pipe, breathing hard. His hands burned. His heart pounded. Then the red light turned off. The monster was gone. The voice returned. Test Subject 47. Unexpected result. New data logged. The chains reappeared from the walls. They snapped around Jared's wrists again, locking tight. He laughed quietly, not because it was funny, but because he was still alive. They wanted to break him, but they just made him angry. Far above, in a hidden room, a tall alien in black armor watched the screen. Its face was hidden behind a mask. It turned to another figure standing behind a dark glass. "She is watching," the alien said. "The Queen wants to see more." The figure behind the glass said nothing, but her golden eyes narrowed. Back in the cell, Jared closed his eyes again. He whispered to himself, "If they think I'm just bait, they chose the wrong human." He used tools, not guns, but it was enough. The next time Jared woke up, the chains were gone. He was lying on cold metal again, but this time in a different place. The ceiling above was higher. The walls were wider, and there were lights now, dim and green like sickly stars. No voice greeted him. No monster growled. Only silence. He sat up slowly. His back ached, and his hands were still sore from the last fight. But he was alive. That meant something. Across the room, he saw something strange. A pile of junk. Metal scraps, wires, bolts, broken panels. Pieces of machines that once had purpose. It looked like garbage, but to Jared, it looked like opportunity. He limped over and began digging. Screws, a cracked energy cell, a magnet, half of a broken control pad. Nothing powerful, nothing dangerous. But to an engineer, these were weapons. He smiled. Let's see what we can build today. Above him, in a dark control room filled with alien tech, a group of Varnock guards watched silently. Their black skin glistened under red lights. Their glowing eyes tracked Jared's every move. One of them hissed, "He is not a warrior. He makes toys." The commander growled back, "He made lightning. That was no toy." Behind the glass wall, someone else was watching. She stood tall, her body wrapped in gold and dark crimson armor. Her face was hidden under a smooth helmet. She said nothing, but her eyes locked on Jared, and her hands folded slowly behind her back. Back in the chamber, Jared worked. He wasn't sure how much time had passed. There were no clocks here, but the silence told him this was another test. No one leaves metal lying around unless they want to see what you'll do with it. He twisted wires together, snapped circuits into place, and built a crude pressure sensor using a broken tool casing and the cracked energy cell. He didn't know what kind of beast they'd throw at him next, but he was betting it had eyes. And if it had eyes, it would blink. And if it blinked, he could blind it. Maybe. If he was lucky. Or just smart enough. The lights suddenly went red. The walls shook. A loud gate opened somewhere above him, and a roar echoed through the arena. Jared stood, holding a small, strange-looking device in one hand. His heart thudded. The floor panel shifted, revealing a metal platform rising slowly. On it stood a new monster, twice as big as the last. This one was armored, like a living tank. Its claws were longer. Its body had metal plates welded into its skin. Its face was a twisted mess of flesh and steel. Jared's breath caught. What the hell did they feed you? The beast sniffed the air, then looked straight at him. Jared didn't run. He held the device tightly, crouched near a broken panel. The beast charged. At the last second, Jared threw the device forward and dove to the side. Click. Snap. A bright white light burst out of the device. A screeching noise followed. The monster stopped and roared in pain. It clawed at its own face, blind and furious. Jared rolled to his feet and grabbed another tool, a magnetic spike. He ran toward the creature's side and slammed the spike against its leg. It stuck hard, right on a metal joint. Then he ran. The beast recovered and gave chase, but the spike had done its job. Its leg stiffened, and its movement slowed. Jared jumped onto a ledge and grabbed a loose wire hanging from a control box. "Come on, big guy," he muttered. "Let's fry some circuits." The beast lunged, and Jared jammed the live wire against the spike. Crack! A burst of blue lightning exploded from the point of contact. The monster screamed. It stumbled backward, smoke rising from its leg. Sparks flew from the metal joint. It didn't fall. But it didn't charge again either. Instead, it limped back into the shadows, growling. The lights dimmed. Jared fell to one knee, breathing hard. He had burns on his hands. His arm hurt, but he was alive. The speaker above crackled. Test subject 47. Status: active. Intelligence rating: exceeds projected norms. Then silence. Jared looked up at the ceiling and shouted, "Next time, bring tools that don't suck." He laughed, just a little. He wasn't supposed to be alive. He wasn't supposed to win. But here he was. High above, the alien queen leaned forward in her chair. She used no weapons, one of her guards said. Only scraps. The queen's voice was calm, but sharp. Then what does that make him, if he keeps winning? No one answered. Her golden eyes stared at the screen. Let him build. Let him think. Let him believe he has control, she said softly. Then she smiled beneath her mask. Because I want to see what the human does when we take it all away. The Queen of Beasts watches him. Jared didn't sleep that night, if you could call it night. Time didn't exist in the beast pits. There were no windows, no clocks, only metal walls, flickering lights, and the silent waiting between battles. He sat in the corner of his new cell, staring at the floor. His fingers were bleeding from the sharp tools he used. His ribs were bruised, but his mind, still sharp, still fighting. He had survived 2 monsters now. The Varnock guards had stopped laughing. The mocking voice from the speaker hadn't returned. Instead, there was something new in the air, silence filled with curiosity. They were watching him, studying him. But not just for sport, for something else. Across the station, in the observation spire, a long chamber floated above the arena like a throne in the sky. Alien guards in black armor stood on each side, stiff and quiet. At the center, seated upon a tall seat of jagged bone and gold, was her, Queen Solara of the Varnock Dominion, ruler of 1,000 prison worlds, keeper of the beast games. And for the first time in a long time, she was curious. He doesn't act like the others, she said quietly, her voice smooth and powerful. He doesn't panic. He doesn't beg. No, my queen, one guard replied. This human calculates. He builds. Strange for one so soft, another muttered. His people are weak. Solara stood and walked slowly toward the massive screen showing Jared's cell. She stared at the human, sitting alone, deep in thought. He is not weak, she said coldly. He is something else. She raised a hand. Send him the echo drone. Back in his cell, Jared heard a sharp click and looked up. A small round object floated down from a slot in the ceiling. It hovered silently, like a metal eye, then projected a soft blue light on the wall. Words appeared in strange alien script, then shifted into English. You interest me, human. Jared blinked. Who are you? He asked. The drone paused, then responded. I am Queen Solara. I rule the pits. I rule the beasts. You have made me pause. That is rare. Jared stood slowly, walking up to the glowing wall. And what? You're here to congratulate me, or warn me. Neither. I want to know why you resist. You are not a fighter. You were not trained. You should be dead. Jared stared at the words for a long moment before answering. I resist, because I have a choice. You chain my body, but not my will. The drone was silent. Then new words appeared. You are alone. No army. No weapon. Why continue? Jared stepped closer to the wall. His voice was steady. Because somewhere out there, someone will hear my signal. Someone will come. And until then, I make every second count. You hope. I build. In the observation spire, Solara watched the exchange carefully. Most beings begged for freedom, cried for mercy, tried to lie or flatter her. But not this one. This human. He looked into the eyes of power and challenged it. Not with threats, with ideas. Later that cycle, Jared was moved again. Not to a cell, not to a pit, to a different kind of room. This one was cleaner. No blood, no bones, just white walls and a table with parts, actual parts, real tools, and cameras. Dozens of cameras. This is new, he muttered. The speaker crackled again, but this time it wasn't cold or robotic. It was calm, curious, feminine. Build something, anything. Show me what the mind of Earth can do. Jared hesitated. He looked around, then slowly approached the table. He saw a damaged hover core, a cracked data chip, and a power relay. He raised an eyebrow. "This isn't a test," he whispered. "This is a job interview." He smiled slightly. Fine. He got to work. Hours passed. He didn't stop. He built a small flying drone from scraps, one that could map a room and send signals using basic pulses. Then he disassembled it and built a stronger one. Then a faster one. He didn't know how many watched him, but he knew she was the queen. And that meant one thing. She wasn't just curious. She was interested. Back in the spire, Solara leaned forward as Jared sent the drone flying around the room. "It learns quickly," one of her advisors said. Solara narrowed her eyes. "No, he learns quickly. He teaches himself. He adapts. That is not just instinct. That is evolution. But he is only one human. And that," she said slowly, "is why it matters." She stared at the screen, thoughtful. If one of them can do this, what if there are more? Back in the test room, Jared sat down, wiping sweat from his face. The drone floated silently in the air, sending pulses to the wall. A soft light blinked on the ceiling. Then a single line appeared on the wall in human language. "Would you rather survive or change everything?" Jared stared at the question. His breath slowed. He stepped toward the wall and answered with 3 simple words. "I choose both." He outsmarted the monster they said couldn't die. They called it Gravithorn. Even the Varnock guards spoke the name in whispers. It was not just a beast, it was a legend. A creature bred for one purpose: unstoppable death. 10 feet tall, steel bones, skin like volcanic rock. It had survived over 100 pit battles. It had never been injured, never been slowed, never been fooled. Until now. Jared Carter stood at the center of the arena. No armor, no gun, just 2 bags filled with strange devices made from scrap parts, magnets, and a custom-built EMP pulse trigger. His heartbeat was loud in his ears. His legs shook, but not from fear. From focus. He wasn't here to survive. He was here to win. An enormous gate opened with a grinding screech. The crowd, hundreds of aliens watching from behind force fields, went silent. Even the queen, high above in her throne room, leaned forward in her seat. Gravithorn stepped out. Its claws tore into the ground with every step. Its body was covered in thick plates of black metal. Pipes hissed steam along its back. Its mouth opened to reveal jagged rows of teeth, some organic, some forged. It didn't growl. It didn't roar. It just looked at Jared, like a predator deciding how to chew its meal. Jared moved fast. He ran to the far wall and slammed his hand on a broken panel, activating the first of 6 traps he planted earlier. Wires laid under loose tiles, small charges hidden behind panels, and decoys carefully placed to trick the beast's sensors. Click, hiss, boom. A flashbang exploded in front of Gravethorn's eyes. It paused, but only for a second. Then it charged. Jared didn't wait. He sprinted toward a metal post near the corner and ducked behind it as Gravithorn smashed through the wall behind him, missing by inches. Dust flew everywhere. He reached into his bag and tossed a small pod behind him. It rolled across the floor and beeped. Gravithorn stepped on it. The EMP pulsed. The creature roared, not in pain, but in rage. Sparks flew from the tubes on its back. One of its glowing red eyes flickered and died. "Good," Jared muttered. "One down." The queen watched silently. The other Varnock commanders leaned toward their screens. He damaged Gravithorn's eye. One said, shocked. "Impossible," said another. "Nothing survives more than a minute with Gravithorn." But Jared wasn't fighting like a warrior. He was fighting like an engineer. Back in the arena, Jared was already setting the next trap. He ran toward the far edge, grabbed a loose pipe, and used it to connect 2 live wires. The current activated a grid beneath the metal floor, something he discovered after hours of studying the chamber's layout. Gravethorn followed him. Too fast. Too strong. Jared turned and ducked as the beast swung its massive claw. It scraped the wall, sending sparks into the air. Then it stepped onto the electrified floor. Jared triggered the power. A bolt of energy surged upward. The creature screamed. Its legs stiffened, smoke rising from the circuits in its lower spine. The ground trembled. It fell to one knee. Jared didn't celebrate. He knew better. He goatee it, someone shouted from the crowd. Alien viewers screamed in disbelief. The betting boards lit up in flashing red, recalculating the odds. No one had ever damaged Gravethorn this badly. But the beast wasn't finished. It roared, stood up again, and slammed both fists into the ground. The shockwave knocked Jared back. He hit the wall hard and gasped for air. His vision blurred. His tools scattered. His head throbbed. The beast limped toward him, dragging one damaged leg, smoke leaking from its shoulder port. Jared crawled across the floor and reached for the last device in his pack. The core trap, something he hadn't tested yet. A magnetized bomb that targeted high-energy systems. If it worked, it would stop the beast's heart coil. If not, well, there wouldn't be a second try. Gravethorn lifted its claw. Jared threw the device upward, straight into the beast's open chest port. Click. Then silence. Then, boom. A pulse of blue energy burst from the creature's core. Its chest sparked violently. The light in its eye flickered, then went out. The beast staggered, stumbled, and collapsed. The arena was dead silent. Then the force field flickered off. Jared stood, limping toward the center of the arena. Blood ran down his arm. His hands were shaking. But he raised his fist. One human, one mind, one impossible victory. In the observation spire, Queen Solara stood quietly. Her golden mask reflected the flames on the screen. A long pause. Then she said, "This changes everything." Her advisor frowned. "He won by luck." She turned sharply. "No. He planned. He studied. He turned our monster into a machine, and then broke it like one." She looked back at the screen where Jared stood, barely breathing. "Begin the next phase," she said. Later, in the medic cell, Jared lay on a slab while drones cleaned his wounds. A new echo drone floated down beside him. The familiar blue light flickered on the wall. Why not kill it? Why not escape when it fell? Jared smiled weakly. Because the beast wasn't the real enemy. The words paused, then changed. Then what is? Jared sat up slowly, looking straight at the drone. Control, fear, systems that crush the weak and feed the powerful. He pointed at the drone. "I won't be your entertainment. I'll be your problem." High above, the Queen read the message from the drone. She stared at the words for a long time, then whispered to herself, "Then let's see how far the problem can go." Escape was not his goal. He wanted to end the game. Jared had a chance to run. The door was open. The guards were gone. The lights flickered strangely, and alarms echoed in the distance. Any other prisoner would have bolted, but not him. Jared stood still in the empty hallway outside his cell, staring at the blood trail left by the last monster they sent. He didn't move forward. Not yet. Because escape wasn't enough anymore. Not after what he'd seen. Not after what they'd shown him. The games, the death, the slaves, the Varnuk cheering like gods as living beings screamed below. This place was a machine built on pain, and Jared was done being part of it. He didn't want to leave. He wanted to break it. Earlier that day, they had brought him to a quiet chamber. Not a pit. Not a lab. This one had a table, 2 chairs, and no chains. He sat, waited. Then, for the first time, someone walked in. Not a guard, not a monster. A woman. She wasn't human. Her skin was silver blue, and small scales shimmered along her arms. Her eyes glowed softly, like starlight trapped in water. She sat across from him, watching carefully. "I am Sarah. I speak for the Queen," she said. Her voice was calm, smooth, almost kind. Jared said nothing. "The Queen has taken interest in you. She sees value in your mind, your survival, your choices. She wants to use me," Jared replied flatly. Sarah tilted her head. "No, she wants to understand you." Jared leaned forward. "She runs a death circus. What's there to understand?" Sarah didn't blink. She was raised in war, built for conquest. But you build to protect. You break systems with ideas, not fists. You threaten more than her beasts ever could. "Then why send you?" Jared asked. She reached into her cloak and pulled out a tiny device, no bigger than a finger. She placed it on the table. "It leads to the roots of this place. Tunnels beneath the pits. Forgotten levels. Secrets even the Varnock avoid. Why give it to me?" "Because the Queen wants to see what you do when given a path." Now, Jared stood in the hallway, holding the device. He followed its blinking light down the corridor, past flickering cameras and silent guard posts. Either someone shut the system down for him, or something was coming, and they wanted to see how he reacted. He took the stairs, 2 levels down, then 3 more. He reached a hatch behind a broken power panel. The device blinked green. He pried the door open and slipped inside. The tunnel smelled like smoke and oil. Old pipes ran along the ceiling, and the walls were damp with age. He moved quietly, light in hand. Then he heard it, a cough. Someone else was down here. Jared crouched and crept forward. In a small alcove ahead, a group of figures sat around a barrel fire. Thin, dirty, scarred. Not Varnock, not guards. Prisoners. And not just humans. Other species too. Alien faces with hollow eyes. Survivors from the pits. One of them, a tall insectoid with cracked armor, noticed him first. "You're the engineer," it said. Jared raised his hands. "Not here to fight." "Neither are we," said another voice, a human this time. A woman with a missing eye and a steel brace around her leg. "Not anymore." He stepped into the light. "How long have you been down here?" "Years," she said. "Maybe more. No clocks. We found these tunnels, hid from the games. Thought we were forgotten." "Why didn't you leave?" Jared asked. A silence fell. Then the insectoid spoke again. "Where would we go? They'd hunt us, kill us, or worse, send us back into the arena. We survive here. That's all." Jared looked around the group. Maybe 15 in total, all broken in body, but alive. His voice was quiet, but strong. "What if we stop surviving and start fighting back?" They stared at him like he was mad. "We don't have weapons," the woman said. "I don't use weapons," Jared replied. "I use tools." He pulled a folded schematic from his jacket, one he stole from the observation room 2 nights ago. It showed the ventilation system, power cores, weak spots. He pointed at a junction. "This leads to their broadcast hub. We cut the signal, we stop the games." He pointed to another. "This chamber controls the energy fences. If we disable it, we free hundreds of prisoners in one move." Someone laughed nervously. "You want to bring down the whole pit?" "No," Jared said. "I want to end it." Over the next few hours, Jared led them through the tunnels. He fixed broken lights, calibrated sensors, showed them how to connect old comms to the outer grid. He built shock batons from heating rods, pressure mines from discarded coils, masks to hide their heat signatures from the drones. They trained, quietly, carefully, and all the while, Jared kept saying the same thing. We're not an army. We're a blueprint, a signal, proof that this machine can break. Meanwhile, in the Queen's chamber, Solara stared at the map glowing on her screen. She watched Jared on a hidden feed, leading the group through the tunnels. Her general stepped forward. He's starting a rebellion. She said nothing. He must be stopped. Still silence. My queen. Finally, she spoke. Do nothing. The general blinked. You want him to continue. She turned her gaze to the stars beyond the glass. I want to see if he reaches the core. If he does. She looked back with a faint smile. Then maybe. He deserves to change the game. Later that night, Jared sat near the old reactor, staring at a broken mirror. He saw his reflection. Tired, bruised, worn, but not afraid. The woman with the steel brace walked up beside him. What if we lose? She asked. Jared didn't look away. Then we lose trying. She nodded. That's more than we had before. The first attack would begin at dawn cycle. No broadcast, no announcement, just one spark in the dark. The Queen stood before him, but didn't attack. The gates were supposed to open with violence. Explosions, screams, panic. But when dawn cycle arrived and the rebellion began, there was only silence. The audience arena was full, aliens packed into seats, betting tokens flashing in the air, watching with wild eyes for the next pit bloodbath. Instead, the screens glitched. The beast cages stayed closed. No monsters roared. No guards moved. Then, from the shadows of Tunnel 6, Jared Carter stepped into the arena. Alone. Wearing a half-rusted chest plate, an EMP launcher on one arm, and a scarf made from the flag of a fallen fighter. Behind him, smoke curled from vents. Evidence of sabotage below. Cameras followed him. Spectators leaned forward, confused. Was this part of the show? Then Jared's voice echoed across the arena. He spoke through a hacked speaker system. His own frequency, his own words. This isn't your game anymore. This isn't about monsters in cages. This is about you, the ones watching, cheering, obeying. You built a world where pain means power. I'm here to flip the circuit. He pulled a small transmitter from his belt and held it high. The broadcast wasn't just local. It was galactic. Far above, on dozens of border worlds, humans and aliens alike sat frozen, watching illegal Varnock channels suddenly hijacked by a bruised, bleeding human with fire in his eyes. And behind him, something moved. The ground split open. Another lift rose from the floor. A figure stood on it, tall and silent. Gold and crimson armor. The mask of power. Queen Solara. The crowd gasped. Even the guards on the upper decks tensed. The Queen never stepped into the pit. She ruled from above, untouchable, unseen. Now she walked across the sand, toward the human who broke her system. Jared didn't flinch. He stood in the center of the arena as the Queen approached. Step by step, she moved with grace and precision. Her long red cape flowed behind her like a river of blood. Then she stopped, 10 feet away. No guards, no beasts, no words. Yet, the air crackled with tension. Jared raised his voice. So this is how it ends. Royalty comes down to get her hands dirty. Still silence. Then the Queen spoke. Her voice was calm, deeper than he expected, layered with a strange resonance, as if speaking from across time. I came because you did something no one else ever has. You changed the script. Jared laughed bitterly. I didn't come to rewrite your play. I came to burn the theater. The Queen removed her helmet. The crowd gasped again. She was young, younger than legends claimed. Her face was beautiful, but not soft. Her eyes were golden, sharp, ancient. Not cruel, not kind. Just watching. Studying. Why not run? She asked. You had your chance. You broke into the tunnels. You could have escaped. Jared's voice dropped. Because I realize something. Escaping fixes nothing. If I ran, you'd just keep doing this. Someone else would die tomorrow. So I stayed. To show everyone watching that one mind, one broken human, could crack your system wide open. The Queen stepped closer. You think this ends with a speech. You think the galaxy will care. You are one man. Jared's hand clenched. One man is always where it starts. Ideas spread faster than monsters. You taught people to obey. I'll teach them to resist. In the shadows above, prisoners who had hidden in maintenance shafts, those Jared had trained, moved into position. They activated pulse blockers, jammed security signals, released lock codes. Cells across the lower levels sprang open. Slaves, fighters, broken souls, now free. In the arena, the Queen looked up briefly, as if she knew. She turned back to Jared. You're clever, but revolutions are messy. You may light the fire, but others will burn. Jared nodded slowly. Then let me burn first. But I'll burn loud. The Queen looked at him for a long moment. Then, she did something no one expected. She extended her hand. Open, unarmed, an offering. The entire arena went still. Then let's see if your fire can shape a new world, she said. Together. Jared blinked. Was this a trick? Was it mercy? Or was it real? His mind raced. But deep inside, he felt it. This wasn't surrender. This was choice. The Queen, designed for war, trained to dominate, had been watching all along, studying not just his survival, but his principles. And something in her had shifted. Maybe just a little. But enough. Jared looked around the arena. The crowd was silent. Even the Varnock guards waited. The prisoners in the tunnels waited. The galaxy, watching from smuggled screens, waited. One moment. One choice. Jared reached out and took her hand. Gasps. Some screamed. Some cheered. Some trembled. But no one looked away. Because in that single gesture, a war machine and a rebel engineer made history. Not with blades. Not with bombs. But with defiance and possibility. Later that day, deep in the lower tunnels, Jared stood in front of the freed prisoners. He spoke softly. She gave me a path. I don't know if it's a trick. But I know this. The gates are open. We can walk through them. Or we can walk through her world and change it. Not as beasts. Not as slaves. But as people who remember what they saw today. He looked up at a cracked camera, still blinking. He smiled. Let the galaxy remember too. Human courage started a war the galaxy will never forget. The story reaches its climax and resolution as Jared's defiance spreads far beyond the arena. Rebellion ignites. Alliances shift. The galaxy will never be the same. The gate broke not with violence, but with footsteps. Hundreds of them. Soft, slow, steady. Slaves walked through the tunnels once lined with blood and fire, this time holding tools instead of chains. Wounded fighters leaned on each other. Alien prisoners carried the young and the weak. And at the front, limping but upright, was Jared Carter. His clothes were torn. His left eye was nearly swollen shut. His body carried the marks of every choice, every trap, every rebellion he built with nothing but scraps and grit. But his hand still held the same signal device he had carried since the start, a simple transmitter. And today, it had done what guns couldn't. It called the galaxy. For years, the Varnock had ruled through fear, power, silence. Their arenas were unchallenged. Their entertainment spread like disease. Their queens ruled like empires of cruelty. Until a human engineer refused to scream. And instead, he spoke. On Earth, the broadcast played live. People stopped in cafes, Homes, military stations. Jared's face, his words, the Queen's hand in his. "This system is broken," he said. "But systems can be reprogrammed." One general in Earth's interstellar command stood in silence, watching the feed. He turned to his aide. "Contact the resistance fleet. Get me eyes on Varnock space. On the outer moons of Solari 5. A network of free world smugglers and exiled diplomats watched the same feed from hidden satellites. One Solari leader, her face scarred from Varnock invasion, whispered. The Queen shook hands with a human. "It's begun." Inside the beast arena, not all Varnock were loyal to cruelty. Some looked at their monitors, at the Queen's decision, and questioned everything they'd believed. Even the monsters, genetically engineered to kill, were slowly being shut down, freed, rehabilitated. It started with one engineer hacking their command collars, then another removing the pain stimulants. One even began petting a beast that once tore through 50 prisoners. And the beast purred. But peace never comes easy. Not everyone liked what Jared had done. In the deepest halls of the Varnock Empire, far from the Queen's reach, High Lord Terax, Solara's political rival, watched the entire rebellion unfold, his voice tricked with venom. A queen who shakes hands with prey is no queen at all. He slammed his clawed hand on the console. Ready the Black Fleet. Purge the pit, burn the throne. Silence this human before hope spreads. Back in the arena, Jared stood beside Queen Solara. The air was still. The sand of the pit, once soaked with blood, now held flags built from torn uniforms and armor. They weren't waving in victory. They were memorials for every fighter who fell before the rebellion. The Queen turned to Jared. "You've started something I cannot stop." Jared looked at her, his voice low. "Then don't." She nodded once. "I won't." And then she handed him something. A command chip. The central eye of the arena. Its network is still linked to 12 other death pits across the sector. "You control it now." Jared blinked. "You're giving me your empire." "No," she said, "just the power to break it." That night, the transmissions began. Jared's team used the command chip to override Varnock programming across multiple systems. One by one, other arenas began glitching. Doors unlocked. Chains dropped. Messages played. "You are not property. You are people. You are free. Run. Fight. Live." Prisoners rebelled in clusters. Some guards joined them. Others ran. The galaxy watched as a ripple became a wave. A single act of courage had become a war cry. But the Black Fleet was coming. Tirax's warships pierced through hyperspace. Fast, heavy, brutal. They would erase everything. Jared stood with the Queen in the control chamber, watching the warning lights flash. "How long do we have?" he asked. "Hours," she said. "Maybe less." He took a deep breath, then turned to the prisoners and fighters he trained. The freed guards. The alien rebels. "All right," he said. "We've hacked their cages. We've freed their monsters. We've turned a queen into an ally. Let's do one last thing. Let's hold the line." The final stand. The Black Fleet arrived with fire in the sky. Dropships descended. Explosions shook the pits. But the rebels didn't run. Jared and Solara stood side by side, rallying fighters from every species. Humans fought beside insectoid tacticians. Solari warriors stood with X-guards turned rebels. Beasts, once killers, charged into battle wearing new colors, defending the ones who once feared them. The battle was chaos. But there was something different now. They weren't fighting to survive. They were fighting for something more. For future arenas never built. For future monsters never born. For a galaxy where freedom wasn't a prize, it was a right. And in the middle of it all, Jared climbed to the broadcast tower. Bombs rained down around him. But he reached the top, pulled out the old transmitter, cracked and burned, and looked into the camera one last time. If you hear this, then you're already part of it. This fight isn't just mine. It's yours. Wherever you are, whatever chains you wear, remember, they can break. They will break. He raised the signal one last time, and we'll be there when they do. Aftermath. The rebellion spread. The Black Fleet fell, overwhelmed by thousands rising in every system. The beast pits were shut down. Their gates collapsed. The queen vanished. Some say in exile, others say walking among the free. Jared. He disappeared from the public eye. Some say he died in the final blast wave. Others say he left the galaxy, building something quietly, far away. But the legend remained. In every free world, in every system that once knelt in fear, children speak of the day a man with no army, no weapon, no rank, stood alone, and lit a fire big enough to burn the stars awake.